Hello, welcome to my kitchen and to eat these words. Today I'm looking at soups. I'm going to go do two soups for you. One a Palestinian inspired soup and the other my own butternut squash and sweet potato soup, which I hope you like. Anyway, for now, Liz, what you doing? So to make this Palestinian inspired soup, what I'm going to do is put my pan on, let it heat up on a lowish heat. There we go. And get some olive oil. This is garlic infused oil, but it doesn't have to be, it can be plain oil if you want. And just put a few bits, about a tablespoon in the bottom. Now to that I'm going to add one onion finely chopped, hopefully without any carrots, but if any sneaks in it's not the end of the world. Once you've got all your finely chopped onion in, cook it until it's soft, stirring occasionally with a spoon. It could take about 5 minutes to do this. Just a bit of onion there. What we're doing with this is trying to build up some flavours. That's why we're cooking our onion slowly. We want to make it so that it releases some of its sweetness. If you want to add more onion, that's up to you. So these have been going for about 5 minutes now, and it's time, seeing as how they're starting to soften and become translucent, it's time to add in our spices. Now we have here, in my pestle and mortar, we've got a teaspoon of coriander and a teaspoon of cumin. So I've just finished toasting some coriander and cumin seeds, and I'm just gonna crush them in my pestle and mortar. Now you don't have to do this, you can buy the already ground ones, but you do get a bit of a fresher flavour from the coriander and cumin seeds. So it's up to you. If you've got a spice mixer or a coffee grinder or something, then you can use that by all means, probably quicker, but it is nice to occasionally just to do things the old-fashioned way. It's just about done, I would have said. And put that to one side to cool down. And we're going to put it in here. Get it all out. Along with half a teaspoon of allspice. So ground allspice. If I can get it out. Oops. Half a teaspoon. Quite strong this as well, so watch what you're doing with it. And a teaspoon to 2 teaspoons of garlic. So that's that's one full one. Put 1.5 in on this occasion. I'm going to cook that through. For about 3 minutes or so, just to get the spices warm through. While that's warming through, put your kettle on because you're going to need some boiling water. Come back to this and just keep stirring it. You need to keep stirring it at this stage because it may stick to the bottom due to the spices. Once we've done that, we're going to add a carrot, a large carrot finely chopped, and 2 stalks of celery, but I'm not as keen on that sort of celery, so I've got 1 stalk of celery here. So that's 1 large carrot finely chopped, or 2 medium ones, and a celery stick finely chopped going in there. And stir that around. Into there goes a tin of cannellini beans. drained, and 150 grams of quinoa, along with 2 chicken stock cubes. There's 1, 2, and we're going to add to that 500 mils of boiling water. Now then, I'm going to let that cook through for about 20 minutes until all the quinoa is nice and cooked and the carrots and the celery are soft. Okay, so it's been going for about 15 minutes, and as you can see, it's thickening up nicely. So what I'm going to do is add a bit more water, and I'm going to put some chicken in. It's already cooked, the chicken, so I'm going to put about 100 grams of chicken in here, and once this is already cooked but it's frozen, and what I'm going to do is when it's ready, when it's cooked through and heated through, I'm just going to break it up into little bits. There we go. So we'll just leave that for another 5 minutes and it will be happy. Okay, so my timer's just gone off, so it's time to check to see whether it is cooked or not. So taking a clean spoon, get a little bit of quinoa and a little bit of carrot on there. So celery as well. Blow. Yeah, it's cooked. So all we need to do now is check whether it needs any salt and pepper, which I think it does. So I'm going to put in some salt and pepper. Firstly the pepper, and then the salt. Not a lot of salt because we've already got the stock in there. Give it a stir. As you can see, the chicken's cooked okay, so I'm just going to break it up on the side here. Just give it a push against the side and it cuts really well. Just gently does it and it moves apart as well. It's time to add a bit more seasoning. In this instance, we're going to use lemon juice because this is quite seemingly authentic for the area. So half a lemon going in there. Okay. And some freshly chopped chives. And we're just going to mix that around. That's to make it, give it some freshness, I think. Because look at that, it does now lift it. Of course, if you've got no chives, you can use parsley, if that's what you want to use, whatever herb you like. Okay, so I'm going to switch that off, and that's my lunch for tomorrow. So you'll notice in that recipe that the soup became very thick. You can add extra water to it if you so wish, or you can just leave it as it is, which is kind of like a stew. It's up to you, but it's damn tasty, I've got to tell you. Anyway, on to our next soup. Our soup now is butternut squash, sweet potato and chilli. Enjoy. So I've started this by adding a tablespoon of garlic oil to the pan, heated it up slightly and then added the onion, and I'm just waiting for this onion to soften before I start the next part. Once your onion has started to soften, it's time to add your vegetables, and in this instance I'm adding some butternut squash. So I have a large butternut squash, but I'm only using half of it, so it's been chunked into quite big pieces, about 1 inch across, and we're just going to pop that in there. That's half a butternut squash, and to that I'm adding 2 small sweet potatoes in the same size. I'm just going to bung that in as well, or pop that in as well. and give that a stir around. Leave that for a second or two while we get some herbs in there. So I'm going to put some thyme in. This is dried thyme. And about a teaspoon. If you want to measure it, you can do. If you want to put more in, it's not going to harm it. I'm also putting in a teaspoon of celery salt. Again, it's about a palm. Put that in. And then just give that a mix through. It's a good time actually if you want to add some sage, that's nice in here, and a little bit of rosemary. If you want to add some rosemary, that's good. So when everything's nicely coated in everything, in all the herbs and everything, it's time to add your stock. This is just a quick soup and it has loads of flavour. So I'm going to get my stock, and in this instance I've got 2 Knorr stock cubes, so I'm going to pop them in. Just whole. Here's the second one. Whole. And with that I'm going to add some chilli. Now it's up to you how much chilli you put in. We don't like a lot, as you know by now if you've been following me for any time. We're wimps, so I'm going to put about 1/4 of a teaspoon in there, and it just gives it that little bit of heat because the sweet potato and the butternut squash are both quite sweet together, so it gives it a little bite which helps it along. Some boiling water. Now usually I eyeball this and I just bung it in, but on this occasion, so that you know, I'm going to add a pint. And we're going to leave it at that for now. And now we're going to bring it to the boil and boil it until the vegetables are soft. So this has been going now for about 15-20 minutes. I'm just going to give it a prod and see if it's cooked. As is that. So this is cooked now, so I'm going to switch it off for now. Now this is the time when you can either use a stick blender, an immersion blender that you put in the pan and go for it, or put it in a liquidizer. It's up to you. I've got a liquidizer, so I'm going to use that. Okay, so I've got my liquidizer out. This is basically a soup maker, but you can liquidize in it as well. And what I'm going to do is place my soup that I've just made into my liquidizer. I'm going to take everything out and just pop it into the liquidizer. A little bit at a time. I'm trying not to be messy. So what we're going to do as soon as we've transferred everything into the bowl is we're going to liquidize it and decide there whether it needs extra fluid or not. Okay, not that far. I'm just going to tip the rest in. There we go. I'm going to switch this on and I'm going to okay, when you've done that it's time to transfer it back into your pan. Pop it back in. It is a little bit thick, so what I'm going to do is get some hot water into my jug, about half a pint, maybe quarter to a half a pint, and then swill it out and pop it into there. So I'll just move it over to the cooker a little bit. Here we go. And we're going to put our soup back on the cooker, and what I'm going to do is put the heat back on. Put it on a low heat and give it a stir. And what I'm going to do now is check it for seasoning. So get yourself a spoon. Clean spoon is always good. and take in a little bit, just test it. Now that's really nice, but it needs a little bit of salt. And what I do as well is add a knob of butter to my soup, just to rich it up a bit. Any butter's good. I'm going to use the the lacto-free variety. And there's about an ounce going in, maybe less. Just a blob is fine. Stir it in, and what that does is just give it a richness. Okay, when you've done that, it's time to add salt and pepper. So normal black pepper going in, and it needs a bit of salt, so I'm going to put some salt in. And then we're going to give it another stir. Now you don't have to have it as thin as this. You can have it thicker if you so wish. So once I've done that, what I like to add is some chopped chives, because I haven't got any parsley. So I'm going to add a handful of chopped chives. These are frozen. These I chopped and froze myself in my freezer. Just a handful does. And give that a stir. Okay. There you go. So there is my butternut squash, sweet potato and chilli soup. Enjoy. Thank you for watching my video so far. Hope you like what you saw. If you did, hit me up with a thumbs up and think about subscribing, because 95% of the people who watch this channel don't subscribe, and it would be lovely if you could. Anyway, if you want any more recipes from me, look here. And if you want one that the computer chose for you, look here. Anyway, for now, Liz out.